Well, I'm tongue-tied. Sincere thanks to the trustees of the Academy, the head of the Academy, faculty, students, parents. This is a great day, and clearly Abigail and I want to congratulate all of you. A milestone in your life and an important day of achievement. I feel it's very special and privileged for us, or me, to be allowed to speak at Sarah's graduation. I was telling the head of this school that I've been invited to speak at other high school graduations and turned them down, and didn't recruit this job, but took the assignment eagerly because I thought it was a way of perhaps paying back to the school that has done so much to shape all of our children's lives. I thought about a lot of things to talk about today. I like to talk about whole persons. I like to talk about leadership. And as I was thinking about the preparation for today, and having been to a few of these graduations or commencements, I had a pretty good idea of what the audience was like. And so what I wanted to kind of get us all connected is that probably everybody here did graduate from some school, whether it was the 8th grade, a high school, or a college. So you've all been part of this graduation or this commencement experience. And in some ways, it's good to call it graduations because we acknowledge that tipping point. And I think the most exciting part of the graduation is the look forward, because it goes to commencement, beginnings of other things. But clearly, this is an important part of all of our lives and all of our experiences. And I think for students, for parents, for teachers, for friends, for family, for siblings, to just reflect on those segments, those tipping points in life where we go from one thing to the next and how successfully we do them. And I think for Abigail and I, this is a particularly sentimental day. And again, for parents and students, you may rejoice or remember some of these things. The agony of car seats, things that we heard our kids bitch about. You know, how much free yogurt do you get? And you know, I wasn't really late. Why in the hell do we have to go to Glen Ellen? There's, you know, is this a great life achievement to eat a frog? And perhaps not a healthy frog. And grades and class elections and, you know, and social things and development and driving a car and first dates and all the things that happen in this high school experience. Every one of us have experienced those same things. So mom and I and all of our children and your children and you are part of the same kind of life experience. We're very much in this together. So then I got to what I really wanted to talk about. And having just attended a 2-day graduation at Harry's College, Abigail and I were reflecting, and there must have been 10 different speeches that we heard, and as we heard them, they were all quite good. And then a few minutes later, we quite didn't remember them. We had some impression of the speaker, and one of the things I've learned in life is nobody remembers speeches. So if you think about, I don't know, we could have a show of hands. How many people here remember who spoke at their high school graduation? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3. My wife remembers. That's really good. So it's less than 1%. How about college graduations? Well, that's better. Does anybody remember what that was said? I don't see any hands up. So it's kind of a daunting thing to give a commencement address knowing that no one's going to remember what you said. And then reflecting back on the speeches that we heard, Abigail and I said, there must be a book of platitudes and cliches that commencement speakers address. You know, like, you're the greatest generation, you're the most challenged generation, you've had the best educations, the world is going to change. Respectfully, all the technology that exists, whether it was calculators or iPhones that we didn't have, now you have, and the world lies before you. And so I think the intention of this is to connect to everyone here, because this is a moment when we can all reflect on things past and the commencement of our futures. Their futures as they go on to higher education and pursue fully adult lives, all of us reflecting on our children, grandchildren, friends of children, the people who we've addressed. And then I further got to think about speeches, and I thought to demonstrate that nobody remembers any of them, probably the only one that all of us would remember would be the Gettysburg Address. And it was short, and it was remembered because it was written. It couldn't have been recorded. And there's some phrases from John F. Kennedy's inauguration, or, but you think about the recent political campaigns, or whatever your religious preference is, whether it's what a rabbi or a minister says, all the speeches that we hear, we just don't remember them. And so I felt I was kind of between a rock and a hard place, having to say something that hopefully somebody would remember, and then recognizing full well that hardly anybody remembers a speech. So that's the dilemma. But there was one speech that I do remember, and it was given recently, and that's the one that Abigail gave at Ohio State. And she talked about her own personal experiences in life, what touched her, and how that experience, a person reaching out to her, touched her life, and how important it was to her as she reflected back, as you will reflect back, and how that influenced her thinking in ways unknown. And those are kind of crucible experiences in life, things that happen, a circumstance, a person says something, does something, and then when you, like Harry Potter or Dumbledore, go back in that memory pot and start stirring it, say, oh, that was it. That person touched me. And basically what Abigail said is, we all have to do something. Just do something that benefits society. And that was pretty powerful. So anyway, getting back to my rock and hard place of people not remembering speeches, and probably the best graduation speech that I heard, and I know that I will remember, is the speech that my wife gave. And our children will remember it, and our friends will remember it. So what to say? So what I decided I would do was take the privilege that was given me to speak. And what I decided that I wanted to talk to was my children. Now, your children, and you are welcome to listen in. As hopefully you will. But what I thought about, and this probably will resonate with many of you, particularly the alums and all of you parents and friends and students and certainly faculty, was the first. I didn't go to a private school. And from the first day Abigail and I visited this school to see if they would take Harry in pre-K, we weren't so sure. It might have been a struggle. But I remember walking out and saying, this is unfair. This is absolutely unfair. The resource that exists here, looking at the physical facilities, looking at the kids then. Harry was in pre-K, but looking at kids in junior high school and senior high school, they're walking around, looking at the faculty, looking at the resources. This is unfair. This has to be a fraction of the top 1% of all kids in America in terms of the advantage they have to be at a school that is so good. It's just an unfair advantage. And every visit that we make, whether it was to first grade or lower school or middle school graduation or other graduations, whenever we visit, or it was a tennis match or whatever, it was the art show, Abigail and I walk out and say, this is just simply unfair. Our kids have so much privilege, so much opportunity. How unfair it is on a societal base for so much resource to be concentrated to this special group of people. And so that notion of privilege is really what I wanted to talk about. And I hope my children, at least this speech, as I remember their moms, and I think they'll remember their moms, hopefully at least there'll be a few people in this audience that remember what I said. And so I want to speak to them, and I'd like them to think about the privilege that they have. The privilege in their formative years to go to such a wonderful school, to be supported by faculty and resource. In so many ways, to be privileged just by this academic environment. The privilege of having the benefit of so many teachers, so many people who are superiors, so many people that challenged you and guided you and opened up your minds. The privilege to have developed habits of lifelong learning, of reading skills and writing skills, of thinking skills. Just amazing things happen. The privilege of those peculiar junior speeches where you really get to think about yourself. What makes you tick? What were your crucibles? Looking in the mirror, perhaps the first time as an adult, and saying, I would like to explain myself to you and to myself publicly. The enormous privilege to develop curiosity. Albert Einstein, I have a quote in my office, so it's dear to me. My family knows it. It says, curiosity is more important than knowledge. And I think developing habits of curiosity, which clearly you have. I have another quote, and I hope I'd pass it on to my children too. And it's above my desk, and it's by Michelangelo, and it says, "I am still learning." Important that you always have that attitude as you go through life. And most importantly, out of all this, Sarah, David, Hannah, Harry, Jacinta, our stepchild, is that with privilege comes responsibility. Privilege comes responsibility. The notion to be responsible to yourself, to use all your God-given skills, all your advantages, all those talents to fulfill your own lives and to live them in a happy and the fullest possible way for your own self. A responsibility to your family, who literally carried you, maybe in their arms in a car seat, carried you, brought you to school, have nurtured you through life, have in this last segment of high school, as you've begun a significant part of your adult life, this next chapter that goes forward in segment, carrying you and supporting you so that you become independent, full adults and fulfill your own dreams and ambitions. This is important to your life, that you fulfill yourselves. I think there's a responsibility to friends. You have made and will make lifelong friends here at the Academy, people that you could share your troubles with, your happiness, your frustrations, joys, and predictably lifelong friends. And most importantly, responsibility to society. You are so privileged. You have to contribute and consider how you contribute to the greater good, to make the world a better place, to repair the world. And I think hopefully you'll all look in the mirrors and look at the responsibilities to yourself, to family, to friends, and to society. And when you look in the mirror, you will say, this is a person I'd like to meet. This is a person that I'm really proud of. This is a person that has accumulated great privilege, but has executed great responsibility. So children, please use all your God-given talents, all your privileges, all your accumulated privileges to fulfill your life's responsibility. Congratulations for allowing me, and thanks for sharing this special day and to reflect my thoughts with you and with my children. Thank you.